My sister gave me her old clothes for Christmas. She's a size 2. I'm a size 12. She said motivation for the new year in front of everyone. The room went silent. My parents laughed nervously. My brother pretended to be very interested in his phone. My sister just smiled. That same smile she'd perfected since we were kids. The one that said, "I'm helping you." This wasn't new. She'd been doing this my entire life. When I was 8, she told everyone at my birthday party that I'd wet the bed until I was 6. When I was 13, she showed my crush a photo of me with braces and a unibrow. When I was 16, she told my first boyfriend I'd never been kissed before him. Each time, she'd end with that same defense. I'm just being honest. I thought you'd want to know. But this felt different. Maybe because I was 24 now. Maybe because I'd spent the last year in therapy finally understanding that her behavior wasn't sisterly teasing. My therapist had a word for it. Covert abuse, the kind that looks like concern on the surface. After everyone left that night, my mom pulled me aside. She handed me a gift card. For some new workout clothes, she said gently. Your sister means well. She's just worried about your health. I stared at the gift card. $50 to an athletic store. That's when something inside me cracked. Not broke, cracked. Like ice on a frozen lake right before it gives way completely. I started documenting everything. Every comment. Every look. Every time my sister made a show of ordering salad while I ordered pasta. Every time she posted gym selfies and tagged me with motivational quotes. Every time she gave my mom articles about diabetes and heart disease, making sure I could overhear their concerned conversations. By February, I had dozens of instances documented, pages and pages of small cruelties that added up to something much bigger. I sent the list to my sister with a simple message. This stops now. Her response came within minutes. You're being dramatic. I'm trying to help you. Why are you so sensitive? I forwarded everything to my parents. No explanation, just the evidence. My dad called me that night. We need to talk about this as a family, he said. Your sister is very upset. I almost laughed. Of course she was upset. She'd lost her favorite target. The family meeting happened on a Sunday. My sister came prepared with tears and a speech about how much she loved me, how she'd been struggling with her own body image issues and was projecting, how she was sorry if I'd misunderstood her intentions. If, that word sat between us like a knife. My mom asked what I wanted. An apology? Therapy? For us to just move past this? I told them about the wedding. My wedding. The one I'd been planning for 6 months with my fiancé. The one none of them knew about yet. Because I'd been waiting for the right time to tell them. My sister's face went pale. I told them they weren't invited. Not my sister. Not my parents for enabling her. Not my brother for staying silent all these years. The screaming started immediately. My sister called me vindictive. My mom said I was tearing the family apart over clothes. My dad asked if I'd really let one bad Christmas ruin everything. One bad Christmas. As if it had only been one. I left that house and didn't look back. The wedding was beautiful. Small. Intimate. Just my fiancé's family and the friends who'd actually supported me. 4 months later, my sister got engaged. My mom called asking if I'd reconsider. Be the bigger person. Show up for family. I declined. Then yesterday, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, it was my sister. Her voice was different. Smaller. She said she needed to tell me something. Something about her fiancé. Something she'd just discovered that changed everything. I should have hung up. I'd worked so hard to build boundaries. To protect my peace. But something in her voice made me pause. This wasn't the confident, polished tone she used when she was performing. This was raw. What is it? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. There was a long silence. Then, can we meet? I can't do this over the phone. Every instinct told me no. My therapist's voice echoed in my head. You don't owe her anything. You're allowed to protect yourself. But I heard myself saying, fine, coffee shop on 5th Street. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., you have 30 minutes. She showed up 15 minutes early. I watched her through the window, sitting at a corner table, picking at her cuticles. I'd never seen her do that before. She always had perfect nails, always had perfect everything. When I sat down, she looked up. Her eyes were red, no makeup, hair in a messy ponytail. This wasn't the sister I knew. Thank you for coming, she said quietly. I didn't respond, just waited. She took a shaky breath. Nathan's been cheating on me, with multiple women, throughout our entire relationship. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not sympathy, just a hollow acknowledgement of information received. I found messages on his phone, she continued. Hundreds of them, going back to when we first started dating. He's been telling them the same things he told me, that they're special, that he's never felt this way before. She was crying now. Real tears. Not the performative kind she'd used during the family meeting. I'm sorry that happened to you, I said, and I meant it. Not because she was my sister, but because no one deserved that. I need your help, she said, looking at me directly for the first time. You're the only one who'll understand. I almost laughed. Understand what? What it's like when everyone thinks your life is perfect, but it's actually falling apart. When you can't tell anyone because you've spent so long pretending everything is fine. The irony wasn't lost on me. This was the woman who'd spent years pointing out every flaw in my life while curating her own image of perfection. I can't help you, I said simply. Please. I know I don't deserve it. I know I've been terrible to you, but I don't have anyone else. Mom and Dad can't know. They've already invited 200 people to the wedding. Dad's paid for everything. If I cancel now, then cancel, I said. It's not that complicated. You don't understand. They'll be devastated. Everyone will ask questions. Nathan's family is prominent in Dad's business circles. It'll be a disaster. I stood up. So you'd rather marry someone who cheats on you than deal with embarrassment? That's not what I'm saying. That's exactly what you're saying. And honestly, that's your choice to make. But don't ask me to help you pretend. I spent my whole life watching you perform perfection while tearing me down. I'm not going to watch you do it to yourself. I walked toward the door, then stopped, turned back. For what it's worth, the perfect life you've been selling to everyone was never real. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can actually start living. I left her sitting there, drove home, made dinner with my husband, told him about the conversation. How do you feel? He asked. Tired, I admitted, but okay. She made her choices. I made mine. I thought that would be the end of it. But the next morning, my phone exploded with messages. My mom, my dad, my brother, even distant relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. My sister had told everyone I refused to help her in her time of need, that I was so bitter about not being invited to family events that I'd turned my back on her when she needed me most. She'd spun the whole narrative, making herself the victim once again. My mom's text was particularly brutal. I raised you better than this. Your sister is going through something traumatic and you walked away. What kind of person does that? I stared at my phone. The old me would have defended myself, would have explained, would have tried to make them understand. Instead, I turned my phone off, went to work, came home, lived my life. 2 days later, my brother showed up at my apartment. He'd never visited before. Didn't even know where I lived until he asked my husband's brother for the address. Can I come in? He asked. I considered saying no, but something about the way he stood there, shoulders hunched, reminded me of the kid who used to hide in his room when our parents fought. I let him in. We sat in silence for a while. Then he said, I'm sorry. I looked at him. For what? For all of it. For never saying anything when she went after you. For pretending I didn't see it. For taking the easy way out every single time. He was 26 now, 2 years older than me. In all those years, he'd never once acknowledged what had been happening. Why now? I asked. Because I'm engaged, he said. And my fiancé asked me about you, about why you weren't at family things. So I told her. Everything. All the stuff from when we were kids. All the stuff at Christmas. The wedding situation. He paused. She looked at me like I was a stranger. Asked me how I could have just watched all that happen and done nothing. And I didn't have an answer. Because there isn't one. I was a coward. I didn't argue with him. She's right, you know, he continued. About our sister. She's not going through something traumatic. This is just the first time someone's treated her the way she's treated other people her whole life. I know, I said quietly. Mom and Dad are pressuring her to go through with the wedding anyway. They're saying every couple has rough patches, that she's being dramatic, that if she really loved him, she'd find a way to work through it. The parallel wasn't lost on me. Our parents had spent my entire life telling me I was being too sensitive, too dramatic, too much. Now they were doing the same thing to my sister. The difference was this time they actually had a point. She left him, my brother said. 2 hours ago. Moved out of their apartment. She's staying with her friend Bethany right now. I felt a small shift in my chest. Not pride, not satisfaction. Just acknowledgement that she'd finally made a choice that wasn't about appearances. The wedding's still on though, he continued. In 5 days, Mom and Dad are telling everyone she's sick. That it's being postponed, not canceled. They're trying to find a way to spin this that doesn't make the family look bad. Of course they are. My brother looked at me. I'm not going to the wedding, if it happens. Or the makeup family dinner Mom's planning. Or any of it. I told them what I told my fiancé. That I'm done watching people get hurt while I stay silent. They must have loved that. Dad said I was throwing away my family over nothing. Mom cried and said she didn't raise her children to be so cruel to each other. He laughed bitterly. The irony. We sat there for a while longer. Then he asked, are you happy? In your life now? I thought about my husband. Our little apartment. The job I loved. The friends who actually knew me. The therapy that had helped me understand I wasn't the problem. Yeah, I said. I really am. Good. He stood up. That's what I wanted to know. That it's possible to walk away and actually build something better. After he left, I turned my phone back on. More messages. More accusations. More people who'd never been there for me suddenly having opinions about my choices. I deleted them all. Created a group chat with my brother and husband. Named it Actual Family. My husband sent a meme. My brother sent a laughing emoji. We talked about normal things, plans for the weekend. A show we were all watching. Regular, boring, healthy conversation. That's when I realized something. I'd spent so long waiting for my family to change, to see me, to acknowledge what they'd done. But they weren't going to. They couldn't. Because acknowledging it would mean admitting they'd been wrong for years. That they'd enabled cruelty in the name of keeping peace. The wedding day came and went. I didn't think about it until my brother texted me that evening. It didn't happen. She told everyone the truth this morning. That Nathan cheated. That she's not going through with it. Mom and Dad are mortified. I didn't respond right away. Just sat with the information, felt the weight of it. She'd chosen honesty over image. Maybe for the first time in her life. I texted back, how is she? Devastated, but also relieved, I think. She's staying with Bethany for now. Mom and Dad aren't speaking to her. They said she embarrassed the entire family. The old me would have felt vindicated. Would have thought, now she knows how it feels. But I didn't feel that way. I just felt tired. If she needs anything, let me know. I typed, then immediately deleted it. Typed it again, deleted it again. Finally sent, thanks for the update. I wasn't ready to reach out to her. Maybe I never would be. But I also wasn't going to kick her while she was down. That was the difference between us. She'd spent years finding my weak spots and pressing them. I'd spent years learning that just because someone hurt you doesn't mean you have to hurt them back. 10 days after the canceled wedding, my sister posted on social media a long caption about growth and change and learning who you are outside of other people's expectations, about how she'd spent her life performing for an audience that didn't actually care about her well-being. The comments were full of support. People praising her bravery, calling her an inspiration, saying they were so proud of her for choosing herself. I closed the app without commenting, because this was her journey now, her reckoning. And just like mine had been private and painful and full of moments no one saw, hers would be too. The difference was, she had an audience that would cheer for the performance of growth without knowing if real change was happening underneath. But that wasn't my problem to solve. A month later, my mom called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hi," she said. Just that. No explanation, no accusation, just hi. "Hi," I said back. Silence. Then, "Your sister asked me to give you her new number. She changed it after Nathan kept calling." "Okay." More silence. "She's been asking about you. Wants to know if you're willing to talk to her." "I don't know," I said honestly. "She's different now," my mom said. "She's in therapy, working on things. She's really trying to change." I wanted to believe her. Part of me did believe her. But I also knew that people didn't just change because something bad happened to them. They changed because they did the work. Day after day, moment after moment, choice after choice. "If she wants to talk to me, she can reach out herself," I said. "You don't need to be the middleman." I just thought, "Mom," I cut her off gently. "I know you want us to be close. I know you want the family to be whole again, but that's not something you can force. We all have to choose it. And right now, I'm choosing myself." She was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I didn't realize how hard things were for you, with your sister. I should have paid more attention." It wasn't quite an apology, but it was closer than I'd ever gotten. "Yeah," I said, "you should have. If I could go back, but you can't. None of us can. We just have to figure out what we do from here." After we hung up, I sat with my husband on our couch. He didn't ask about the call, just held my hand while we watched TV. That was the thing about healthy relationships. You didn't have to perform, didn't have to explain, could just exist next to someone and feel safe. My sister's text came 8 days later. I'd been expecting it, but seeing her new number on my screen still made my heart race. "Hi, it's me. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I wouldn't want to hear from me either. But I need to say something and I need you to actually hear it. Not in a coffee shop where you can walk away, not through mom, just you and these words. I was cruel to you, for years. It wasn't teasing or concern or trying to help. It was cruelty. I tore you down because making you small made me feel big. Because if everyone was focused on your flaws, they wouldn't notice mine. Because I was so scared of being imperfect that I had to make you the imperfect one. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect anything from you. But you deserved better. You deserve better. And I'm sorry. I read it 5 times. Looked for the catch, the manipulation, the subtle way she'd make this about her pain instead of my hurt. But it wasn't there. It was just an apology. Not perfect, but real. I didn't respond right away. Spent 2 days thinking about what I wanted to say, how much I wanted to let her back in, if at all. Finally typed, "I appreciate you saying that. I'm not ready to have a relationship with you yet. Maybe someday, but not now. I need to keep protecting myself." Her response came immediately. "I understand. Thank you for even reading my message. Take all the time you need. I'll be here when you're ready, if you're ever ready." I saved her number. Didn't delete it. Didn't add a name to it. Just left it as the digits. A possibility. A door not quite open, but not quite closed either. That evening, my dad called. I'd been avoiding his calls for weeks. But after my mom's call and my sister's text, I figured I might as well face them all. "I need to apologize," he said as soon as I answered. "For what specifically?" I asked. "Because there were so many things to choose from. For not protecting you. For making you feel like you had to choose between being part of this family and being yourself. For telling you that you were dramatic when you were just asking to be treated with basic respect." I didn't say anything, just listened. "Your sister's been in therapy, and she suggested I go too. So I have been, for 6 weeks now. And my therapist asked me to describe my relationship with each of my kids. When I got to you, I realized I didn't really know you. Not who you actually are. Just who I expected you to be." My throat felt tight. "You were always the easy one," he continued. "The one who didn't make waves, who went along with things. And I took advantage of that. Let your sister get away with things because you wouldn't fight back. Let your mom push her agenda because you just quietly disagree and move on. I made you responsible for keeping the peace instead of making peace something everyone had to maintain." "Yeah," I managed. "You did. I don't know how to fix this," he admitted. "I don't know if I can, but I want to try, if you'll let me." I thought about the gift card my mom had given me that Christmas, the $50 for workout clothes. How it had seemed like such a small thing, but carried the weight of every time they'd chosen my sister's version of reality over mine. "I don't need grand gestures," I said. "I just need you to actually see me, to believe me when I tell you something hurt, to not explain it away or minimize it or tell me I'm being too sensitive." "I can do that," he said. "I want to do that." "Okay," I said. "Then we can try." The calls and texts from my family became more frequent after that. Not smothering, just present. My mom sent pictures of flowers in her garden. My dad forwarded articles about things I'd mentioned being interested in. My brother sent memes and invited my husband and me to dinner with him and his fiancée. My sister stayed quiet, respected the boundary I'd set, and somehow that respect meant more than any apology could have. Months passed. I watched from a distance as she rebuilt her life, got her own apartment, changed jobs, posted less on social media but seemed more genuine when she did. I saw her smile in photos and wondered if it was real or performed, caught myself hoping it was real. 8 months after the canceled wedding, my brother got married. He invited everyone, including me, including my sister. I asked him if he was sure he wanted both of us there. Didn't want the day to be tense or awkward. "You're both my siblings," he said. "You both matter to me. If you can't be in the same room yet, I'll figure something out, but I'm hoping you can." The wedding was small, simple, beautiful. I saw my sister across the room during the ceremony. She looked different, softer somehow. When our eyes met, she gave me a small smile, not the performative one from before, just a quiet acknowledgement that we were both there, both trying. At the reception, we ended up at the same table, not by choice, by assigned seating, my brother's doing, probably. We sat in awkward silence for a while. Then she said, "You look happy." "I am," I said. "Good." She meant it, I could tell. "How are you doing?" I asked. "Better than I was. Still figuring things out, but better." We didn't talk much more than that. Didn't need to. We were two people who'd hurt each other trying to exist in the same space without causing more damage. It was enough. As the night wound down, she approached me again. "I know you're not ready to be close, and that's okay. But I wanted you to know that I think about what you said at the coffee shop, about the perfect life never being real. You were right. What made you finally see it?" I asked. She thought for a moment. "When Nathan left, everyone felt sorry for me. They said things like she gave him everything and he betrayed her. But you know what the worst part was? I realized I didn't actually know who he was. Not really. Because I'd been so busy being who I thought he wanted that I never asked who he actually was. And then I realized I didn't know who I was either. I'd spent so long performing that I'd forgotten there was supposed to be a real person underneath. I understood that. Had felt that way myself before therapy, before building boundaries, before learning that who you are matters more than who people expect you to be. It's hard work," I said. "Figuring out who you actually are." "Yeah," she agreed. "But it's worth it, I think. I hope." We stood there for a moment, two sisters who'd spent years in a toxic dance finally stepping away from the music. "I'm proud of you," I said. And I meant it. For leaving, for doing the work, for being willing to look at the hard stuff, her eyes filled with tears. "That means a lot, coming from you." I didn't hug her. Wasn't ready for that. But I touched her arm briefly. A small gesture. An acknowledgement that maybe, someday, we could find our way to something resembling sisterhood. A year after that Christmas, where everything changed, my husband and I hosted Thanksgiving at our apartment. My brother and his wife came. My parents came. And after some thought, I invited my sister too. She brought wine and flowers, helped in the kitchen without taking over, laughed at my husband's terrible jokes, asked my brother's wife about her new job, and actually listened to the answer. At one point, I found her standing by the window, looking out at the city lights. "You okay?" I asked. "Yeah," she said. "Just thinking about how different this is from last year. How different I am." "Are you happy?" I asked. The same question my brother had asked me. "Getting there," she said. "Some days are harder than others, but I'm learning to sit with uncomfortable feelings instead of projecting them onto other people. Learning that being vulnerable doesn't make me weak." "That's big," I acknowledged. "I'm also dating someone new," she offered carefully. "It's early, but it's different than before. I'm being myself, my actual self. It's terrifying." "How are they handling it?" "Better than fine," she said. "They actually seem to like the real me more than the version I used to perform." I looked at my sister, really looked at her, saw the person she was becoming. Still imperfect, still figuring things out, but trying, actually trying. "I'm glad," I said. That night, after everyone left and my husband was doing dishes, I sat on our couch and thought about the clothes my sister had given me that Christmas. The size 2 clothes for my size 12 body. The motivation for the new year. She'd been right about one thing. That Christmas had been a motivation, just not in the way she'd intended. It motivated me to finally set boundaries. To stop accepting crumbs of respect from people who should have been giving me the whole meal. To build a life where I didn't have to shrink myself to make others comfortable. The clothes had gone straight to donation, but the lesson they taught me stayed. My sister and I would never be close the way some siblings are. Too much had happened. Too many years of small cruelties that had built up like sediment until they'd nearly buried me alive. But we were finding something. A careful respect. A tentative understanding. A shared acknowledgement that we'd both been damaged by the same dysfunction and were both trying to heal from it in our own ways. That was enough. Maybe that's all it would ever be. And I was okay with that. Because I'd learned something important. You don't owe anyone a relationship just because you share DNA. You don't have to keep people in your life who make you smaller. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is walk away from people who refuse to see you. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister. "Thank you for inviting me today. It meant more than you know." I thought about not responding, about maintaining my distance, about protecting myself the way I'd learned to do. Instead, I typed back, "You're welcome. Same time next year?" "I'd like that," she responded. And maybe we would. Maybe next year would come and we'd gather again, slightly less awkward, slightly more comfortable in this new version of family we were building. Or maybe it wouldn't. Maybe she'd slip back into old patterns. Maybe I'd realize I'd forgiven too much too soon. Maybe our parents would stir up old dynamics and we'd all fall back into familiar roles. But that was future worry. Right now, in this moment, I was happy. Sitting in an apartment I loved with a husband who saw me, with a brother who'd finally found his voice, with parents who were trying, however imperfectly, to do better, and with a sister who'd hurt me deeply but was facing her own reckoning with courage I had to respect. The size 2 clothes were long gone, but I'd found something better. I'd found myself, the real version, not the version that made everyone else comfortable, not the version that stayed small so others could feel big, just me, messy and imperfect and taking up exactly as much space as I needed. That was the real motivation, the real gift that Christmas had given me, and for that, I was grateful. Even if it came wrapped in cruelty, even if it took me months to unwrap it and see what was really inside, even if the person who gave it to me never meant it as a gift at all. Sometimes the worst moments crack us open in ways that let the light in. Sometimes the people who hurt us the most teach us the most important lessons about who we want to be. My sister taught me what I wouldn't tolerate. My family taught me what I needed to change. And I taught myself that I was worth protecting. Those were lessons that would last far longer than any motivation to lose weight ever could. The next morning, I woke up to another text from my sister. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure," I replied. "How did you do it? Walk away from everyone and not look back?" "I'm trying to set boundaries with mom and dad about my relationship, and they're making me feel like I'm being dramatic. Like I'm choosing someone I barely know over family." I thought about how to answer that. About all the therapy sessions and hard conversations and moments of doubt where I wondered if I was being too harsh, too unforgiving, too much. "You just decide that your peace matters more than their comfort," I typed. "And then you decided again the next day, and the day after that, until eventually it becomes easier. What if they never forgive me? Then they don't. But you'll have forgiven yourself for staying in something that was hurting you, and that matters more." She didn't respond right away. I imagined her sitting wherever she was, reading those words, feeling the weight of them. Finally, "That's terrifying." "Yeah," I agreed. "It is. But it's also freeing." "Okay," she sent. "I'm going to try." "Good," I replied, and I meant it. Because watching someone choose themselves after years of choosing everyone else was powerful, even when that someone was the person who'd made your life hell for most of your childhood, especially then. Because it meant change was possible, growth was possible, that people could look at themselves honestly and decide to be better. It didn't erase what she'd done, didn't make us close friends or confidants, didn't mean I trusted her fully or let my guard down completely, but it meant something. And for now, that was enough. 2 years after that Christmas, I got pregnant. My husband and I had been trying for a while, and when I finally saw those 2 pink lines, I cried. Happy tears, scared tears, all of it mixed together. I told my husband first, then my brother. Then, after some deliberation, my parents. My mom cried. My dad got quiet in that way he did when he was trying not to show emotion. They asked if they could visit once the baby came, if they could be involved. "We'll see," I said. Not a yes, not a no, just an acknowledgement that I was still figuring out what kind of grandparents I wanted them to be. I didn't tell my sister right away. Wasn't sure if I should. We'd been texting occasionally, surface-level stuff, birthday wishes, holiday greetings, the kind of relationship that existed more out of obligation than genuine connection. But she deserved to know. She was going to be an aunt. I sent her a text with a photo of the ultrasound. "Thought you should know." Her response came quickly. "Oh my God, congratulations. This is amazing." Then, after a pause, "Thank you for telling me." I didn't respond. Wasn't sure what to say. A week later, a package arrived at my door. Inside was a handmade baby blanket, soft, blue and yellow, with a note that said, "I know I haven't earned the right to be part of this, but I'm here if you ever want me to be." I put the blanket in the nursery we were setting up. Didn't tell my sister I'd kept it. Didn't tell her how I'd run my fingers over the stitches and wondered if she'd made it herself or bought it from someone who did. When my daughter was born, my parents were there at the hospital. My brother and his wife came with flowers and offered to bring us meals for the first few weeks. My husband's family surrounded us with love and support. My sister wasn't there. I hadn't invited her. But she sent a card with a gift card inside, for diapers and baby supplies. The card said, "Congratulations on your beautiful family." I kept the card, filed it away with other keepsakes from those early days. Months passed. My daughter grew, started smiling, started reaching for things. My parents visited regularly, carefully respecting the boundaries I'd set. My brother became the fun uncle, always showing up with age-inappropriate toys that made my husband laugh. My sister stayed on the periphery, liking photos I posted, sending the occasional text asking how we were doing, never pushing, never demanding more than I was willing to give. One day, when my daughter was 6 months old, I was scrolling through old photos, found one from that Christmas, the one where my sister had given me those clothes. I looked at my face in the photo, the forced smile, the tightness around my eyes. I looked different now, softer, happier, more myself. My daughter made a noise from her bouncer. I looked over at her, this tiny person who'd changed everything, who'd made me think about what kind of family I wanted to build, what kind of mother I wanted to be. I picked up my phone and texted my sister. "Do you want to meet her?" The 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. "Are you sure?" "No," I typed honestly, "but I think it's time." We met at a park, neutral territory. My husband came with me, a silent support system. My sister showed up with flowers and that same nervous energy she'd had at the coffee shop years ago. "Hi," she said softly. "Hi." She looked at my daughter in her stroller. "Can I?" I nodded. She crouched down, speaking softly to this baby who had no idea about the complicated history between us. My daughter looked at her with wide eyes, then reached out and grabbed my sister's finger. My sister's eyes filled with tears. "She's perfect." "Yeah," I agreed. "She is." We walked around the park for a while, talked about small things. My sister told me about her job, her partner, the therapy she was still doing. I told her about sleepless nights and the strange joy of watching someone discover the world for the first time. It wasn't perfect. There was still distance between us, still hurt that hadn't fully healed, but it was something, a beginning, a possibility. As we were leaving, my sister said, "Thank you for this, for giving me a chance." "This doesn't fix everything," I said. Needed her to understand that. "I know," she replied, "but it's a start, and I'll take it." I drove home with my husband and daughter, processing what had just happened. The version of me from that Christmas would have never imagined this moment, would have been too angry, too hurt, too protective of the wounds that were still fresh. But I wasn't that person anymore. I'd done the work, built the boundaries, learned what I needed and what I could offer, and part of what I'd learned was that healing wasn't linear, that you could protect yourself and still leave room for people to grow. That forgiveness didn't mean forgetting, just choosing not to let the past poison everything that came after. My daughter fell asleep in her car seat. My husband reached over and squeezed my hand. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "I think I am." And I meant it. Because the clothes my sister had given me that Christmas had started something. A chain of events that led me here. To this life, this family, this version of myself that was stronger and softer all at once. The size 2 clothes were gone. The hurt was still there, but healing. And the sister who'd given them to me was slowly becoming someone I might actually want to know. Not because she deserved it. Not because family meant we had to forgive everything, but because I'd learned that holding on to anger hurt me more than it hurt her. Because I wanted my daughter to grow up seeing that people could change, that relationships could heal. That family was something you built, not something you were stuck with. The motivation my sister had meant to give me that Christmas had worked, just not in any way she'd intended. It motivated me to become the person I'd always needed someone to be for me. And that was the real gift. The one I'd keep forever.